Well, I had been in and out of different treatment centers for about 10 years, and some of them were the 12 steps, where you work on your resentments and you work on your inventory checklist. But I found that in those situations, I was so heavily focused on what a horrible person I was and rehashing the old story over and over, rehashing the cravings, and living in a place of maintenance wasn't serving me. So in that sense, wasn't able to have any real tools. They were temporary and more glorification of the things I used to do versus the person I want to be. It was just focusing on who I am as an addict. And by defining myself as an addict, I was able to make excuses for myself. Like, of course I'm selfish because I'm an addict. So I wasn't really moving forward. Now, in other treatments I went to, I did go to one that was very effective in the mental health ward, and I learned DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy. And I couldn't tell you years after what were the skills I actually learned. Somehow they sort of embedded, but I wasn't able to access them until I went to the sanctuary. So like for emotional regulation and distress tolerance skills. It's almost like I learned them and then they got shut down and stuffed somewhere beneath. But then coming out of the sanctuary, suddenly I was able to pull those skills up and do it cohesively. So in AA, the issue that I had with their program of spirituality was that I found it very disempowering. I found that, to call spirit or God or whatever you wanted to call it, or your doorknob, which is kind of ridiculous, and ask him to give you everything and to take everything from you, that's disempowering. That makes me feel I have no power. And that's the whole nature of AA, is that we're powerless. And that never resonated with me because I said, no, I am a powerful being, and especially in my addiction, and I could do anything I wanted if I put my mind to it. I said, but that's got to translate to the other side too. And in AA, it wasn't translating. It was like, no, we're still powerless. But what I learned at the sanctuary is we need to connect to our power. We need to call in our power. And then when I'm struggling, instead of praying to God to help me with X, Y, Z, I call Spirit to help me call forth my own power, help me call forth my patience, help me call forth my essence. And that is much more empowering because I know that we're all one, and I am God, and I am you, and you are I, and I am the sand, and I am the earth. And living in that modality, it makes me feel much more supported, but it also makes me realize that I have the capacity to do whatever it is I need to do.
Wow.
Well, spirituality that I learned in the sanctuary is much more practical and effective than the way I learned it through AA or other treatment facilities. So for example, in AA, they say you can make your higher power anything. You can make it a doorknob. And so when I hear people speak that kind of language, it sounds ridiculous. And then to me, their credibility goes out the window. And I was very judgmental about the AA's perception of spirituality. Also, in AA, you're supposed to pray to your higher power and ask them to take everything from you. Whereas at the sanctuary, I learned that when I pray to Spirit, I don't ask him for anything because I already have it from within. So the spirituality that I learned at the sanctuary is not woo-woo, it's not out there, it's not hippie, it's very practical and pragmatic. So some of the rituals might seem a bit bizarre at first, and I questioned them. I thought, how is this really going to work? And it doesn't matter how, I just know that it does. So for example, if I'm creating a sand painting in the earth and I'm shifting around my essence that I've blown to a stone, I know that Mother Nature is holding it and she's working it. And so it's going to happen. And so no matter how busy I am at school or with my program or with my band and my life and my fiance and my dog and my family, I know that if I take 5 minutes a day to rework a sand painting, or if I take 1 minute to blow all my frustration and anger into a stone, or if I talk to Spirit while I'm having a cigarette, or if I take a leaf in the morning and blow my intention for the day, that there's so much power because I'm cognitively saying, this is what I want. This is what I want to do and what I want to receive. And once that's in my consciousness, then my body's going to follow suit. And it doesn't matter how busy we are. If we just take a few minutes of the day to do these things, the magic happens. I did follow through. I always set my intention for my day now. And I take time for my breath work, and I work with my stones. When I'm feeling really frustrated, I know that I can go into a den that I created a little sanctuary in and blow all my frustrations into my stones. I mean, everything that I learned at the sanctuary still works out in the outside world, even though I'm completely dominated by, linear real world timelines and stress. If I take the time to go back to live in the metaphysical and the spiritual, it's perfect.